What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Keeping It Real podcast, episode 3. My name's Colin Doyle, and with me, as always, my buddy Ryan Espey. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing well, Colin. How
Yeah.
are you keeping these days?
It is. It's cold out.
You just gonna swear there?
Yeah, I almost did.
Already. This is
Okay.
like, you can't do that in the first 8 minutes of
I
any
know.
YouTube show.
I'm just so sick and tired of the cold and the weather.
You live in Manitoba, man.
I
That's
know.
the price you pay for no earthquakes and no rattlesnakes.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah. Where do you want to start today, there, fella?
I was just gonna say we had kind of a few lousy days of weather in a row. Lots of closed highways. You got stranded in Winnipeg this past weekend.
I did get stranded. They closed the highways. We were in there for some appointments, and all of a sudden I started getting messages from my kids, and they were very concerned that I was going to try to make it home from Winnipeg, and they were basically telling me not to try, basically stay in Winnipeg, get a hotel. And it made me feel good that my kids were that panicky that I might be in danger.
They were worried about you.
Yeah, that they're actually worried.
It's always a good feeling.
That was a good feeling, and I was getting messages from both of them. My daughter was in the hospital, no reason to be concerned, just a test. And she happened to be there when there was a code orange called, so she got to see the franticness of this massive accident when everyone's getting brought in for medical attention. And thankfully, as far as I know, nobody had passed away from it, but there were lots and lots of injuries. And I think something like, this might be an exaggeration, but people were talking about 30 cars being involved with this accident.
I heard it was pretty big.
At the Oakville turnoff. And when we drove home the next day, once the highways opened, there were still vehicles there, like all smashed up in there. The tow trucks were working on getting them all out of there. So don't know what happened, but thankfully everyone is still on the right side of the grass here. So
yeah, absolutely,
that's a blessing. And but I mean, back when I was a kid, you basically had to have like the blizzard of the century to get a snow day. Like they would not close.
Yeah,
the buses just kept on going.
Yep.
And it's a miracle that we didn't see more accidents. But now there's temperature and there is conditions that will close out the buses, and it's probably for the best, because we did a lot of things back then that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, I remember waking up, you go to bed and it was snowing as a kid, and you'd wake up the next morning, turn on CFRY to hear if the bus cancellations were happening, because there was no internet at the time.
Yeah. Now I got a text saying the buses are closed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the highways had closed on a couple different occasions over the weekend. I do know that there were some, let's call them heroes, that were dodging the barricades and ended up on the highway and ended up stranded. I mean, that's the reason they were closed in the first place, and they got some hefty, near $300 fines and a couple points off their licenses. And
well, plus, I mean, it was at the point where it was unsafe for a tow truck to stop and help people.
Right.
So there was fuel being taken out so they could sit in their cars overnight with them running, which I mean, that is help, but I mean, you're also putting people at risk when you decide that you need to get somewhere.
Right. No, exactly. And there was no Metallica concert in Winnipeg or anything that you had to get to.
No. There was a Jets game, I think, but yeah.
We're down on them again after a couple losses.
I want to tell you what, speaking of the Jets, I have given into the fact that I will continue to support and cheer for my team, and I will enjoy the games for the rest of the season. But I will keep my expectations low, and it will not impact the way that I feel about the team, because this is not going to be their season, I don't think. And it's even if they pull it all together, the playoffs are a long ways away.
Yeah, exactly.
And the good part is I'll probably save a pile of money
by not buying playoff tickets.
Yeah,
that's true.
And all the things that go with it, like the meals and who knows, this winter,
parking,
closed roads and hotels.
Yeah.
But I stayed at Victoria's cousin's place. Heather, thank you for your hospitality. She treats us pretty well when we stay there. It's kind of like
awesome.
It's a night out.
Good.
A night in.
Yeah. I didn't really leave the house much.
Yeah.
I don't like the cold.
Yeah. If you hear that commotion in the background, I have 2 dogs fighting behind us in my gym. So we'll just keep on pushing forward and they can do their thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fight on, dogs.
Who knows what carnage will happen back there. Today we're going to talk about Portage urban legends. So if you've lasted this long, stay around because there's some interesting stuff we're going to talk about. But you want to touch on real estate, seeing how, we're both realtors. We don't generally touch too much on it because it's the most interesting to us. But understanding that, if you're not in the market for something, you probably don't care all that much.
That's right.
It's been an interesting few weeks. The market's picking back up. Managed to generate offers on a couple of properties like within a day, which is, if something's desirable and it's priced well, it flies.
Yeah, that's good.
That should be the central theme. Make sure the strategy is good, you're hiring the right person, and the pricing is on point.
Yeah. Your emotional connection to your house is not valuable to anybody else.
Yeah. And as soon as the words come out of your mouth, can we try for a little bit? Pause. And most realtors will say, yes, we'll try, but be willing to move off that position because often it does not work.
No, exactly.
Are you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Oh, by the way, my shirt today is from the 2004 Canadian National Arm Wrestling Championships, which happened in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba.
Ooh.
And this was sponsored by TransCanada Fitness. And now I remember what next week's episode should be. I would like to tell the story of TransCanada Fitness and Lifetime Health Club throughout the years, which is now Portage Fitness Co-op, because it is a doozy. It's a doozy, and we'll talk about it next week.
Perfect. And as usual, we welcome your feedback, your input on whatever topic we're talking about week to week. And if you have any suggestions yourself on a topic you want to hear about, just let us know.
Yep.
And with that, we'll get into it.
Now, full credit goes to, some of these are my own, but most of these, I have reached out to James Kostachuk, who is the historian of trust in Portage la Prairie. He's got books published with Portage photos and stories and all kinds of stuff. And he is the guy that we go to for these things. And this is just scratching the surface of some of the things. So we're talking urban legends. We're talking old Portage stories today.
And now he sent them to you, and I have not heard these, so I'm quite excited to hear
So
them.
let's talk a little bit. I've kind of organized them into topics. So the first one, I don't know if you've heard the stories about the actors that used to come and hunt out at Delta Marsh.
I've heard a little bit about it.
So that's one of the ones he just kind of gave me a little bit of a list, but I'll add some to them. So back in the, I believe it was the 80s, we used to be, well, we still are a hot spot for like duck and goose hunting out there. And we've had the likes of Ted Nugent, Tom Selleck, Roddy Piper.
Wow.
I believe Clark Gable was one of the ones that came here and hunted at Delta Marsh. And if you go to these old hunting lodges, you'll actually see those photos up cool. On the walls.
Funny, I was just talking about Ted Nugent this morning because we were talking about concerts we had been to, and Ted Nugent was one of them. He's an avid hunter.
He is an avid hunter. He believes wholeheartedly in that. He's a carnivore through and through. And we won't talk about all of his political views, but that might be a whole show, but maybe we don't want to touch that.
No, let's stay away from that.
Speaking of Ted Nugent, though, there was bands and musicians that have played Portage over the years. Who's the one that just played the sandbar?
The Headstones.
The Headstones played the sandbar. And this is funny things that kind of happened by chance. So they're a big act, and they just happened to have a downtime between shows and ended up in Portage la Prairie at the sandbar.
Yeah, impromptu,
which is a small venue, if you remember that space.
It is now PharmaSave.
Yeah.
So that's how that sheds a little light on how big the venue was.
Yeah. So it was a special moment. But did you know? Now this is one people won't recognize. Hank Snow. You ever heard of Hank Snow?
Hank Snow.
He was a country artist in the 1930s who played Portage la Prairie. You hear that? Can't keep them quiet. Must be somebody at the door. Maybe the mailman.
Amazon.
Yeah. But the biggest act in the late 1970s when she was going through a bit of a slower phase of her career, Cher
Oh, really?
played Portage la Prairie.
No shit.
Yeah, I do not know the venue, but
Wow.
it happened.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, that is pretty big.
That might be the biggest name.
That kind of that's some little tidbits, but we got to get into like interesting buildings and the little bit of legends behind them. So the first one, the original basement of the Hudson Bay Company store, burned down in 1913, is accessible still, apparently to this day, through a hole in the foundation of the pawn shop that is right across the street from the TD Bank.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So apparently you can still access that. Now, speaking of tunnels and things like that, there was the Land Titles building, which is now Soleil Bar. There was all kinds of old legends about how it would access the RCMP detachment, and there was like a tunnel system through there, and how the Land Titles building used to have cells. I've been in the basement of that, and you can definitely see where there may have been access at some point. I assume it has caved in since then. Seen how they redone that road lots of times, dug it up. Near Portage Supermarket, there was a house with a garage that had a trap door leading to a large space that was used for bootlegging.
Oh,
yeah. So we're talking back in the 30s. The cell for condemned prisoners that were sentenced to hang still exists in the Portage jail. So the women's jail, there's actually a cell with I think there's a ring on the floor of it where they used to chain people up. That's still there. Now, I would love to get access to that building and have a look around there. Maybe a Keeping It Real podcast on location doing a video tour of that would be something.
Well, funny you should say that, because my mom and dad had both worked there for years, and they worked alongside our fellow counselor, Terry Porter, in that same building. And I was telling my mom about what our topics, might be for future podcasts. And, I mentioned maybe paranormal type podcast, and she said, if we ever do that, let her know, because there are stories upon stories coming out of that old women's jail. And the spirit that haunts that jail to this day goes by the name of George, and he was a troublemaker. So I've got a lot of stories on that building, and I'm sure we could talk to Terry and get a few more.
The other building that was very haunted, and I've experienced personally some of these weird occurrences, was the Gladys Cook Education Center, which, for those that don't know, it was the school at Agassiz Youth Center.
Okay.
On the site where the new hospital is.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works with hauntings, if they kind of migrate over to the new building that's there or not, but it's kind of a different footprint. So let's hope that didn't happen. Lots of stuff used to happen there, but that's a topic for another day. In the 60s, a skeleton was found in a North End home during a renovation to the front porch. The skeleton had no head. And apparently this was in a news story that James had found at one point. Cannot locate it anymore, but
interesting.
It was an unsolved whatever happened there. But it was
So the rest of it was there, no head.
No head.
Like found on a wall?
During
deal, or
yeah, during a renovation to the front porch. So I'm assuming under the front porch.
Oof.
So who knows?
Scared the shit out of me if that was my house.
I would love to find out what house that is.
Yeah.
I would love to find out what house that was. And there was in the 1880s, there was a killing on the Crescent. It was a Cree man, and no one has claimed the body. And the man was allegedly buried in Dr. Cowan's backyard, and presumably the grave is still there. And this was recorded in R.B. Hill's History, Manitoba.
Wow, where's that?
I don't know, and I'm not sure I want to know, because that owner might not want to know either.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah. The Wallace Mausoleum, you've seen that before?
No.
It's kind of that white cement mausoleum at
What hillside?
at Hillside Cemetery. And inside there is a crystal coffin containing a mother and her baby who both died of the Spanish flu in 1919.
That's wild.
Now, I have heard that there was tours of that mausoleum. I don't know if they went into the actual area
Right.
where that crystal
Actual
coffin is.
crypt.
Yeah, but it's there. Sites that we do not know where they are anymore. The French had built a church on Island Park in the 18th century. But let's talk about the Cold War in the 80s. Remember the height of the nuclear scare.
Right.
So I don't know if you know this, but there is still an air raid siren located in Portage la Prairie.
I did not know that. Where's that?
If you look up, right around, actually, it's where the new apartment building's going. It's behind that building that has it had sprigs. Now it's like honeybee and those stores.
Oh yeah.
In that area, there's actually a pole with like a huge siren on top of it. And that's actually an air raid siren.
That's cool.
From the Cold War era, maybe even earlier. But I've heard lots of stories about how Portage la Prairie was a target of interest.
Because of the military base?
Not only because of the military base, but because all of the railways converged in one location.
That's true.
So it would cut off access basically to Western Canada if they were to take it out.
And that stands to this day. It's the only place in Canada where the two major Canadian railways cross.
Yep. And there is a provincial nuclear fallout shelter that was in the basement of the post office, and I believe is still there.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the Uptown Fitness now?
That's Uptown Fitness. If you go in there, well, that would be a good place to use your membership if you ever have to. And go in there and do the thing. Now, one of the most interesting ones on this list is one that I've expressed a great deal of interest in, and I wanted to see it.
Got a pretty good idea.
But it's the George Hill House, who most recently was owned by Don Pelleckity, and he passed away. And I had talked to him about accessing this, and he said he would not open the door until, well, he told me this. He told me until his wife passed, but then when his wife passed, he still did not access the door. Now, the door led to a bomb shelter that was put in the backyard underground. So in the basement of that house, there is a door. Can confirm. The new owner I have met, and I gave him my card, and I said, I would love to be there when that door opens because I want to see what's in it. But there is a bunker in that backyard over on the island, and it's got a wishing well in the backyard, and the wishing well actually contains the ventilation for that bunker. Now, I'm not sure if people realize what would happen if a nuclear weapon dropped there, but a direct vent to the outside probably isn't the best idea.
No.
But George Hill was an eccentric guy, and he had a lot of things. He was scared of some things, and obviously he made that bunker back there.
Yeah.
And that is where it sits to this day.
Well, I remember being in the vehicle when you met the new owner.
Met the guy.
And I don't think he had a clue what we were talking about.
He had no idea, but he did know of the door. So there is a sealed door down there.
Yeah.
I want to see it. Now, it could be disappointing. It could be like you open the door, it's theirs.
Right.
Could be you open the door and it's a room with a couple of bunk beds. But I am thinking that that door probably opens to a stocked bunker.
Right.
And might be some cool stuff in there. Might be some supplies. Might be an old reel-to-reel with some stuff on it.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what you'll find in there. And sometimes the speculation is more fun than the actual factual, what you might actually find down there.
How lucky would we be to open that door on a live on location of the Keepin' It Real podcast?
That would be amazing. And I hope that guy has kept my card and he does give me a call when he opens that up, because the house, you ever been in that house?
I've never.
No. It's super interesting. And George Hill had a Japanese tea house in the back. He had a pool back there. Like, it was quite the place in its heyday. Now, the bunker is what interests me the most. And who knows? Maybe it's caved in, but
Right.
let's all pretend it's still there.
That's right.
For interest's sake. And that's the only other ones I have. Is there is a legend of 3 Dakota chiefs that are buried on a piece of property on the island. And I have been to the spots where they are allegedly buried, and it's marked with ribbons. I'm not going to give you the location. It is a privately owned piece of property, but there are indentations in the ground where this allegedly has happened. And there was talks of ground penetrating radar going in there and finding that out. But
that's interesting.
Yeah. Do you have any, Colin? Because
I have nothing Portage related. This was many years ago, probably 15 years ago. There was a cemetery south of Winnipeg when I lived there. The cemetery contained a crucified Jesus headstone. Now, do not take this as fact, because this is just what I was told before visiting there, is that a crucified Jesus headstone is used only to seal in a demonic soul. So again, I don't know that to be fact, but that's what I was told. And so the legend behind this crucified Jesus tombstone is that if you touch it, you die. And so,
did you touch it?
Well, there was a few of us that went out there one night, and it's a long walking path from the gates of the cemetery to the headstone, which is at the back of the cemetery, but the path leads directly to it. And so we went out there at night with flashlights, and all convinced we were going to touch it and prove this legend wrong. And it was a combination of getting in our own heads and maybe something supernatural, but as you got closer to this headstone, you could feel your heart rate go up. You could feel your blood pressure go up. And we got to a point where we were probably about 10 feet away from it and said, let's get the hell out of here. Again, likely just in our heads too much. And so we turned around to leave. And as we're leaving, every step you took towards those gates felt like you were going 2 steps backwards. Like the gates just kept feeling like they were getting further and further the closer you moved to them. And I never went back there. I never did touch the headstone. And we will just keep that as urban legend.
I will tell you one more story. At Hillside Cemetery, there was a legend of a witch's grave. And when we were in elementary school, we got sent out to the cemetery, and we were making the crayon, you do the thing where you...
Oh, yeah. The emboss on the paper over the headstone.
Over the headstone. And we found this, we had heard the story of this, and we found this one grave, and it actually had a pentagram on it. And the epitaph read, and I remember this like it was yesterday. It says, "Adieu, adieu, my children dear. I am not dead, but resting here. For those who come to my grave to see, prepare yourself to follow me."
Ooh.
And we read that.
Goosebumps there.
We read that, and we thought we were a goner because we just went to see it.
Right.
But we went, and we tried to do the etching on it, and it did not work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you still remember to this day?
To this day. I mean,
how old would you have been?
Oh, I would have been 10 or 12, one of those in that range.
Obviously,
probably more like 10 years old.
Something impactful enough for you to remember what it said.
Like, you read that and you're like, wow. And then when we came back to school, they asked us to read the most memorable epitaph that we had seen, and we read that, and the teacher was like mortified and wanted us to not talk about that anymore.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's what we did. And I'm sure I'm going to think of more, but if anyone thinks of some that you think are worthy of mention, tell us, because we can do a follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Episode with this kind of subject matter. But those are Portage things that have happened. Like stories happen all the time, like in the house that I'm in. there was a we've all heard the stories of the myths of when certain firearms got outlawed, they dropped them down the walls of the house or they hid them.
Right.
I actually personally know somebody that had water damage in their house, and when they ripped the walls apart, they found a pearl-handled pistol in the wall of the house.
Holy smokes!
There's legends of this happening in my father's farmhouse, which you'll never find because the house is massive and you'd have to tear it apart in the least efficient manner possible to try to find it, because it's a 3-story house where apparently the firearm got dropped from the top into the wood chip insulation.
Right.
So good luck with that. You'd be ripping apart stuff forever trying to find it.
Yeah.
And that would only be when the house is ready to tear down, which it is not close.
Right.
There was a legend about, maybe a handgun being held in this house, but I can tell you that having done massive renovations,
Never found anything.
It is not here. Yeah.
Cool.
That's what I got.
Right on.
Yeah.
What's up for next week?
We got to tell the story of Trans-Canada Fitness.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. We'll come up with another couple little stories too, but that one is a doozy. It involves organized crime, Interpol, the FBI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a crazy story, and I found myself in the middle of it all as a bit of a bystander, and I won't get into it too much.
Okay.
Next week.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
And I will over the next week and a bit, I'll do some digging and see if there is any possible way we can get ourselves some access to the women's jail. So
that would be one of the more interesting things that we can do in this town. Yeah. Maybe we can even explore the basement of the post office. Travis Rintoul, if you're watching, reach out to us.
Yeah.
But there's lots of things going on, and this history gets lost if you don't document it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I got nothing else.
That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you again for tuning in to the Keeping It Real podcast. If you have any ideas on future episodes, like we have a list of ideas, but we can let you jump the queue if you think there's something we should talk about.
And until next time, keep it real.
So long, everybody.